It's time for Tripp's Top 10.
It's Tripp's Top 10. Woo!
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
The only top 10 poll that matters out there,
Yeah,
ladies and
there you
gentlemen.
go.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, so when I sat down to do this, it was for me very different than when I did the preseason poll, because the preseason one I was looking at what I thought just we got an
Do
upset.
we have an upset?
Upset alert. Upset alert. 31 seconds remaining. Green Bay leads Creighton 65-53. That's a wrap.
That's gonna
Creighton,
happen.
number
That's gonna
22, Creighton
Woo.
goes down.
The upset train rolls on.
Shut it down. Let's go home.
Let's go home.
So when I do a preseason top 10, I'm really looking at what is my thoughts on this team. What do they have, and for the long term of the season, what can they do? Where can they end up? When I did this one, I really tried to look at right now a snapshot of where I think they are based on how they've played, who they've played. Okay, so some of this, and it's nothing too shocking, but some of the decisions I made are, like Gonzaga. I mean, they're 1-2. Do I think they're better than that? Absolutely, but I can't put them in there. So I really tried to focus on this 2 weeks.
I'm so interested to see where you have Duke. I can't wait.
Man, it's
All
really
right.
interesting.
So here we go. So I will start. I'll start with number 10, and we'll go from 10 to 1. How about that? All right.
Let's do it.
So number 10, I have Florida Atlantic. So they were already kind of in that top 10 range before, and so they're still there. Obviously, they've got some key pieces back from their 35-4 last season semifinal, and they haven't done anything to knock them out of it this season. So they're number 10. Number 9, Creighton. They're sitting at 3-0 this year. They beat Iowa 92-84, and again, they've got some guys coming back from a tournament regional final as well. All right. So here's where I struggled a little bit with 7-8, just because these teams I'm going to put on there are good, but and their record is good, 3-0. They just haven't played anybody, which is not necessarily their fault. So I struggled a little bit, but I kept them. So I put Houston at number 8 at 3-0.
Okay.
Now, I think down the road they're better than that, and I think they will prove that with victories. But right now, 3-0 is the best they can get. But the level of competition made it difficult for me to move them up.
I can tell you there's probably a lot of other teams that are 3-0 that aren't even anywhere close to your top 10. So,
yeah true. Tennessee, 3-0. So they had not a big win, but they had a win, a pretty good win by 10. They're 3-0, but again, the quality opponents hadn't been there yet. All right, here we go. Number 6. This is where I have the Duke Blue Devils.
Okay. I was wondering where we were going. I was like, if they're not right here, they're not in his top 10. And
no, they're definitely in. Here's the thing: they got beat, and I was happy as can be, thrilled. But man, they responded by beating Michigan State, who that's their second loss, and handled them pretty well. Neutral site, I believe, tournament game, but they're number 6. And again, I think that they are going to move up as we go because they're too talented and really too well coached, which we kind of talked about before. Like, who would have thought losing Krzyzewski and this guy coming in, you would have thought there'd have been not a talent drop off, but a coaching drop off. And this guy's done fantastic. All right. Number 5. I'm finally not taking the bait, not falling for it. So I have Purdue at number 5.
Oh, thank goodness.
So they're 3-0. Obviously, they got that big guy in the middle, 7'4" center. But right now, I'm not going to move them up until they make me by quality wins and showing that they can do it.
Well, Tripp, they're going to test you on Monday. They got the Zags on Monday, and they're either going to show you that they're for real or they're what we thought they were.
Exactly. You're correct. That should be a heck of a ball game.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I think it'd be good if the Zags come on top as well, because I mean they've done shifted out some talent. No more Drew Timme and company and things like that, and retooling. If they win here, then they show that they can continue on, with new talent, regenerate. You can believe in these Bulldogs. Like, they haven't won anything yet, unfortunately, but they're still able to get quality wins throughout the season. Give me the Zags in this. I'll tell you. Or excuse me, yeah, give me Zags.
Give you the Zag. All right, I like it. Bold pick. I like it.
That's very bold. Yeah.
So y'all got Purdue, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me the
I
Zag,
just-
give me the Zags upset.
And if they get that win, I'll feel a little more comfortable with them and maybe we move them up. But right now, yeah. I would not be shocked if Gonzaga wins. How about that? But I'm picking Purdue.
I think that the early exit for Purdue really kind of helped them come together more as a team as opposed to just a collection of guys with Zach Edey out there in the middle. So I think that they're going to play better in terms of their teamwork and everything like that. I think that's what's going to be the difference.
Yeah, really, I would assume, to your point, that it's us against the world, chip on the shoulder. Nobody believes in us. Everybody's disrespecting us, and that can certainly help them with that. So,
yeah.
All right, number 4, UConn. Right now, averaging 96 points per game. They're 3-0. Obviously, they great year last year, but again, I'm looking at the 3-0 this year, plus kind of where I had them starting. And then the 96 points per game. Again, hadn't played any world beaters, but so I think that's why they're maybe have them sitting at 4 and not a little bit higher. Marquette. Okay, now we're getting into some that have some bigger name wins. Marquette sitting at 3-0. They're my number 3. They beat number 23 Illinois. The Illini 71-64. So that's kind of the first kind of quality win I've got in here. And so that's why I have Marquette above, UConn, Purdue, because at least so far they've got a more quality win. And so if we're looking at all 3-0 teams, for this snapshot, I'm going to give the nod to somebody with a quality win. Number 2, Arizona, 3-0. Obviously, the big thing they have is they beat Duke 78-73. And then right now, my number 1 team, probably as most people have, is the Kansas Jayhawks, 3-0. Big win against Kentucky. And again, not that Kentucky is great. I think what was more impressive about it was the way they were able to come back. Down 14, they battled back, and the way they won. They inside with the big man, slashing, getting to the bucket. So that is my top 10. Kansas sitting at the number 1 seed.
2 questions for you, Trip.
All right.
First question, what team currently in your top 10 are you afraid, aside from Purdue, because we've already mentioned if they lose, then they'll jump down, but they may not fall all the way out. Who in your top 10 do you believe within the next month when you come back on has a good chance of falling out by the next time you make a top 10 list?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to go with, and I don't think this is going to be a popular pick because people think really highly of them. I'm going to go with Tennessee.
Does the schedule strengthen for them here in the next month, you think? Or
well, yeah, let's take a look. I haven't really been super sold on them.
It's one of those things though with Rick Barnes. You always kind of know what you're going to get with a Rick Barnes team.
Right.
They got Illinois on December 9th. They're currently ranked 23rd, but the next matchup, is Syracuse. Then they got your Tar Heels on the 29th. Trip.
29th, yeah.
So they got 2 ranked matchups in the next 4 games. So, very well could. These are kind of bottom top 25 teams. So, if you drop both of those or even one of them, you trickle out of that top 10 potentially there.
Correct.
One of those top 20. Maybe your Heels bounce up in your top 10 with a win like that.
They're undefeated and they get that win. They'd be at least approaching it. I don't know if they'd be in it, but they'd be well along the way.
Have to be a dominant win, maybe, huh?
Yeah.
And the second question is, who currently outside of this top 10 has a chance to be in it the next time we have it on? I'll toss some notables out there for you, see if they pique your interest. The Zags, A&M,
Illinois,
Kentucky,
Miami. Yeah, there's a lot of
Texas.
good teams. I'm pretty intrigued with A&M, but I'm going to go with I would go with Gonzaga. Kind of, they got a shot, pretty quick, as we said, to make a statement and get them in there. But again, as we talked last time, I'm a big Mark Few guy. And so, all things being equal, I would take his coaching. But yeah, A&M I'm intrigued with. Obviously, Miami's been really good. And really, Kentucky being a blue blood and stuff, they should get it figured out. They're 2-0. They've got a shot. Let's see who they're playing. If they got anybody. They're in Kansas, obviously, or 2-1. Kansas was obviously a big one.
They got Miami on the 28th, so in 12 days they got a top 15 matchup, and then they don't see your heels until
16.
Probably just around the next time we talk again.
Yeah. So if they were to convincingly beat Miami and Carolina, certainly, depending on what happens in front of them, if Tennessee or somebody else loses, drops out, for sure.
Oh, we lost Drew. We'll hope that he'll be back here.
Yes, he didn't like that answer.
Oh no, I hope that's not the case. Yeah, there he is. He must have just gotten bumped or.
I hit the wrong button. I did the back button for our screen.
I thought you didn't like my top 10 list.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was showing you how trash it was without saying anything. No,
I was low key gonna rag on Kentucky briefly of like, hey, they were only up on Commerce by 8 at the half. So I mean, who knows how real they actually are?
Commerce was up by as many as 13, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, in the early going, it's like 16
to 3.
16 something.
Like
yeah.
But yeah, so the thing for me, Coach, is who do you think has the best win so far? Is it Kansas with the win over Kentucky? Do you think Arizona has the best win going into Cameron Indoor, which notoriously is tough for road teams to win at? Is that something that you look at in terms of evaluating, or is it too early to say at this point?
It is something I did not consider that with the 1 and 2 because I already had Kansas there already. Mm-hmm. But I would say that the Arizona over Duke at Duke is a much bigger win because the Kansas Kentucky, I think, tournament play, it was the neutral site.
Madison Square Garden, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So I would say winning at Duke is always difficult. I would say that's the bigger win, which is where I think they were like at maybe going into that, last
12,
number 12. Like to me, that win was big enough to, throw them up there to number 2 for me.
How soon we forget, even I briefly forgot about this, but James Madison over the Spartans at the Spartans. That's got to be the biggest upset.
Well, I guess it just depends.
Upset, but with Michigan sitting at 1 and 2, Michigan State, although the other one was to Duke. So, but yeah, that's definitely the biggest upset and probably arguably biggest program win for James Madison. I would think.
I guess it really just depends on which team you think is better. Is it Duke that you think is better than Michigan State? Because then if you think that the win at Duke is a more impressive win, that's my argument.
I think this is just impressive because it's a team you didn't expect to come in and make waves like that. Whether, Michigan turns out to be, who we thought they might be this season or not. I mean, they started off as a top-ranked team. So, I mean, a top 5 team getting mollywopped by an unranked team that's just now ranked for the first time in the school's history. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's pretty big. I was rocking with the Arizona over Duke first, but when I was like, oh shoot, forgot about James Madison over the Spartans here. We can't leave that and underrate that. And
it's definitely got potential. I mean, and that's the thing is as we go along, there will be teams that come along and have just as good, if not better, wins, and it all away. But
yeah, something could change. But just at this point, I mean, we could definitely talk about those two being the better ones this season as far as the atmospheres that you're going to as well. It's different. It might change it a little bit if that was in the flip side on Duke being on the road instead of hosting. You're like, okay, it was a road game for Duke. They're not used to it. That was their first road trip of the year. You expect something like that, and then James Madison, you could make the excuse for them if they hosted a home game. Oh, they had the energy of their home crowd, blah, 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 blah. This was road environment. I mean, going to Michigan State to play this?
Oh, man. What a great time to be a James Madison fan. I mean,
I was just about to say.
Fun fact number 2 of this episode. I photographed the James Madison football team. BJ was at this one, national championship back in 2019. I believe that was that.
Yeah, North Dakota State and JMU. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was gonna say, do the right thing, NCAA. These teams, they need to be eligible for the postseason, not just the football, but also the basketball team. If you because it goes back to, I believe it was Bellarmine last year. I think that if you're a team and you come up a classification and you're good enough to win your conference year one, why not put them in the tournament? I mean, you saw Fairleigh Dickinson win as a 16 seed, and they weren't even the ones that won the conference. So what's the harm in actually letting the team that earned its way there, regardless of where they are in reclassification process, what's the harm in letting them have the exposure and getting to see their name in the CBS Turner, bug on the bottom of the screen on the March Madness broadcast?
But I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all.
That give a team like a Commerce, if they were to win the Southland Conference, a chance to go. Bid. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But we can't even do that. We couldn't even go yet. That's where it would bite us in the butt, because even if we win, it's like, oh yeah, nice conference champions, and our heart breaks.
And that's the rule I'm saying they need to change. Because that's also affecting JMU, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's just in football, but I can't remember.
Yeah, their petition denied for bowl competition, right? That was football, yeah.
Coach, my final question here, at least for tonight, you've got Kansas at 1. That seems to indicate that if the season ended today, you think they're the cream of the crop. Are you sticking with the Jayhawks to win it all at the end of the year, or do you think there's going to be a team that emerges here as we go forward that will, basically kind of put up a fight and be able to take a medal?
It's kind of a loaded question, because you're saying Kansas against the field,
right? Yeah, Kansas against the field.
Well,
and it's early.
It's just a precursor to with it or quit it. I always load up questions there. No, but okay, so then let me ask you this. Would you consider Kansas right now, obviously if they're ranked number 1, you think that they would be the team to beat the rest of the way, correct?
I would say yes. They're the team to beat the rest of the way until they're not, if something happens. But as of now, yeah, if I was laying money down right now, I would go with Kansas. Although Duke scares me.
They should.